know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a glass.
Tavis Smiley is now ranked number 16 nationally and the highest rated talk show hosted by an African American on the 2025 Talkers Heavy 100 list of the most important talk radio hosts in the nation. Last year, Tavis ranked number 33, and the year before, number 45. The Tavis Smiley Show has rapidly expanded its national syndication to now include nearly 50 radio stations across the country and counting. Congratulations, Tavis.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me who that nigga, it ain't me. If it ain't a party, then it's gonna be. Never had a problem that I couldn't solve. It must be official if I get involved. Quarter pound of fire burning daily. Harder to remember, getting harder to remember. I've been through enough to drive me crazy. I don't think my mama's gonna save me. Maybe I'm not flying, but I'm floating. If we're not headed to the top, where we're going? 2 miles an hour, can you picture me rolling? Cause life is so much better when you live in slow motion.
KBLA Talk 1580. Still one of the most fun shows I've been to and ever. Sir, Inglewood Sir, at the Hollywood Bowl with Leon Thomas and Jill Scott just popping up. Woo, that was a good time. So congratulations going out to Sir. That was a big deal for him, headlining that spot. And it was a big deal for me to have a great night out. Guess who I saw there, Miles? I saw Reva Martin. A lot of folks. LA turned out for that. So I'm so glad I got a chance to be there. So while we are waiting on Professor Armour, I wanted to share something with you. Remember how I've been talking about my brother getting arrested by ICE in my brother, the mayor of Newark, getting arrested by ICE, taken into custody. They only took him for a day. My brother is a citizen. We're freedmen. We are the descendants of enslaved Africans in America. He's born in Newark, New Jersey. He's the mayor there. He was there to interact with, to greet the members of Congress who were inspecting that ICE facility. And the U.S. attorney, Alina Habba, who tried to throw the book at my brother, and ended up taking those charges and dropping them because they were stupid and didn't make any sense. And also there's videotape that shows that everything they were claiming happened did not happen. She went ahead and dropped charges against my brother and then leveled charges at Congresswoman McIver, right? Well, that Alina Habba, the one who tried to go after Raz Baraka, mayor of Newark, New Jersey, now has been rejected to have that job permanently. In other words, the U.S. Department of Justice was she was there as an quote-unquote interim appointment. He he was trying to get her permanent in that space, right? And the judges said no. Judges said no. We will not approve her appointment. She's been there since March, but she can only serve on an interim basis for 120 days unless the court signed off. The court said no. And so the Justice Department, so then the courts placed the second in command in that position. And the Justice Department, the person's name is Desiree Grace, the second highest ranking official in the U.S. Attorney's office there. Attorney General Pam Bondi said no, removed her. And there is a little shady move that the administration did in New York where they kept U.S. Attorney pick John Sarcone after his 120 days were up by naming him to be his own supervisor. They named him special attorney to the Attorney General. So he was able to stay in that position, even though that's super shady. But they can't do this for Alina Habba because there is a federal law that prohibits the government from appointing someone to act as an acting director if they've already been nominated to serve in that role permanently. So it just, number one, I think it's funny because this is the woman that went after my brother, and now the court said, no, she's not qualified. But also, it's indicative of the kind of little shady, sleazy moves that this president is doing to try to put his loyalists in these spots in a way that defies the law and creates their own ridiculous sort of standards or lack of standards. The bar is, as Melina Abdullah said on the show, the bar is in hell. That's how low it is. Speaking of grifting and scams, the U.S. is going to start charging international visas a visa integrity fee. On top of it, how much it already costs to get a visa and any other kinds of costs, they're going to charge you $250 to get a visa to come into the United States. Leisure and business travelers, international students, temporary visitors, and that's a lot of money. This is a money grab. We if you think about 11 million visas that the United States issued last year, $250 times 11 million. It's a lot of money. It's just one more way that this administration can, number one, try to create some kind of barrier for poor people to come into this country, and number two, grift. Just grift. Try to come up with dollars to cover the party favors for the rich, which are the insane tax cuts the big ugly bill offers for the very wealthy. Excited to welcome in the Roy P. Crockett Professor of Law at the University of Southern California. He's a widely published scholar, a popular lecturer, working on the intersection of race, law, morality, psychology, politics, ordinary language, philosophy, and the performing arts. His book, I don't know that I can say the title, NIGGA, Theory, Race, Language, Unequal Justice, and the Law, is an examination of our criminal justice system. He is a Soros Justice Senior Fellow of the Open Society Institute Center on Crime, Communities, and Culture. And he's on the board of directors for LEAP, Law Enforcement Action Partnership. Professor Jody Armour, good morning.
Good to be with you, Dominique.
Yeah, great to hear your voice. How are you?
Well, you know, these are tumultuous times, so as well as you can expect in these times we're living through.
Yeah, I can't even imagine how you teach law right now. I feel like, I know this may sound like hyperbole, but it almost feels like there is no law at the moment.
Well, right. You know, in a lot of ways, it's a object lesson. It's really a teachable moment for law students and ordinary citizens and all of us to recognize that the rule of law that we tout and that we say, so proudly separates us from others, that we are we're ruled by laws, not men, that rule of law can be weaponized, it can be instrumentalized by those who are in power, and it can be totally disregarded. So it looks like not law, but power actually determines outcomes, and that is a very grim kind of reality for students or all the rest of us to reckon with.
I mean, I feel like we've always known, the rich get different justice, better lawyers, more opportunities. But now it seems so transactional and so barefaced. It's the trappings of any kind of consistency are gone.
Yeah, and hopefully it's been a moment, therefore, that's helped us look past, parties and tribes even, and look for principles, right?
Yeah.
And look at principles and say, we are going to, whichever party or tribe is in power, we're going to stand by these principles and hold their feet to the fire, right? And so, for example, most American people, when they're polled, and for a long time, have wanted us to end the genocide in Gaza, to at least end the bring about a ceasefire, and the majority also support not further supporting what's going on over there. Yet the politicians are not listening to the people who are sickened by what they see going on in Gaza, because the politicians are, being supported by AIPAC. And AIPAC is bragging about how much influence they have in Congress and in the Senate and in the White House. They brag about it, and they are serving, not the Democratic base. The Democratic base has one set of opinions. They have a different set of opinions, and the elected officials are listening to them rather than their Democratic base. So, yeah, that's an example that's really clear in front of us right now, and there are many others of how we really have to stand by principle, whoever's in office, and not let ourselves be distracted from those.
I mean, since you brought up Gaza, right, and the mass starvation that's going on, the mass destruction, genocide.
Yes.
When you talk about the rule of law, we're supposed to have international law as well, in this idea of war crimes, things that you're just not allowed to do, not according to the U.S. Constitution or the rules of the U.K. or whatever, but according to these standards of what we call international law. Is that also gone? Because it seems like what we're seeing before our eyes is multiple war crimes.
Dominique, you couldn't hit the nail more squarely. I think that's the other prime example that I think the world can look at and see and say, here's a body of rules. Here's the rule of law by the International Criminal Court, the courts of justice, all the international kinds of bodies and tribunals that we set up after the Second World War to make sure another genocide didn't happen, to make sure exactly what is happening now would not happen again. Never again was supposed to mean never again, and international law is going to make sure that it never happens again. And then we see that those international tribunals are told by the countries that they are trying to hold accountable, they are told, if you try to hold us accountable by holding us to the rule of law, then we're going to criminalize you. We're going to put you on a criminal list, which they are literally doing, and saying we will arrest you for trying to apply these international laws to us. So it can very much look like there, what looks like a ordered set of rules and principles that govern behavior are just window dressing and allow power to flex itself, concealing its true nature behind morality and rules of law, but disregarding those whenever they're inconvenient.
talking with Professor Jody Armour, and there's so much to cover. I'm really looking forward to getting your thoughts on some of the specific things that are going on right now in terms of not just their legal standing, moral standing, but how, if it is possible, how do we come back to some kind of a normal or a standard, normal or abnormal, a standard of some kind. I feel like we're all the way off the rails. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
Why thank you? Yeah.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you, thank you.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, Mom, I've been meaning to talk to you about some new COVID information I saw online.
Uh-huh.
I read that black folks like us with certain conditions like diabetes, heart disease, mental health conditions, or being 50 and older, like you, are at high risk.
Boy, you sound like a commercial.
I'm just saying. I know you love your ginger teas and essential oils, but remember, there are treatment options for COVID-19.
I promise if I get sick again, I'll call my doctor to ask about my options.
Visit WeTalkWeRise.com to learn more. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Sometimes an identity threat is a ring of professional hackers. And sometimes it's an overworked accountant who forgot to encrypt their connection while sending bank details.
I need a coffee.
And you need LifeLock, because your info is in endless places. It only takes one mistake to expose you to identity theft. LifeLock monitors hundreds of millions of data points a second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year with promo code NEWS at LifeLock.com. Terms apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? One day at the firehouse, I was so lightheaded I could barely stand. Even my crew noticed. Getting checked out was the right call. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit NoTimeToWait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thank you for waking up with me right now. You're also waking up with Professor Jody Armour, and he is a law professor and author. It is almost hard to know where to start. So when we talk about what's happening right now with immigration, customs enforcement, it feels like a lot of legal issues come up. One of them is when the courts tell the Department of Justice, tell the president or tell these law enforcement agencies, you can't do X, Y, or Z, and then they do it anyway. What recourse do we have?
Limited. You have, you can appeal, you can seek injunctive relief, you can take it to the courts. But that's going to take time. The people who are enacting these policies that may ultimately be determined unconstitutional know that it will take time. In the meantime, they will have made their point. they will have done their damage.
Right.
And that, that's part of the problem, that the law may be on your side, but the wheels of justice can grind so slowly that a lot of damage can be done before the constitutional principles are vindicated.
Do we, is this a flaw in our system? I mean, I was thinking about that with the dismantling of the Department of Education, for example, or the layoffs of all of these federal workers, where you've got lawmakers knocking on doors. Oh, please let us in. We're supposed to be overseeing what's happening here. And then, some random security is keeping them out. And the president decides to ignore the law. Is that a flaw in our system? It's supposed to be checks and balances, but there's no teeth behind the powers of Congress or the judicial, for that matter.
Yeah, we're expected, at least in the past, that shame would have kept certain lawmakers from crossing certain boundaries, right? That this is clearly such an egregious violation, and no one has done it before. It's unprecedented, right? And so he's coming along, or administration can come along and do unprecedented things. But if you have a lot of the people who are the umpires making a decision about whether these unprecedented things are constitutional, if you have put a lot of them on the bench, if you have a Supreme Court that now has 6 hardcore conservative votes on your side, so even if you those, you still have 5, then the law is whatever your appointed justices say the law is, right, at the end of the day. And they will say the law is, just like we saw in 2000 with the Gore campaign against Bush, when the justices in a 5-4 decision basically appointed Bush the president, and that decision, 5-4, went along party line. So it was a very political decision dressed in law at the highest constitutional level, and we wound up with 8 years of Bush as a result of that legal decision.
And that's and that court looks mild compared to the court that we have now, the Supreme Court that we have now, or what my dad used to call the extreme court.
Yes. No, that was, the gloves are off now. That was a much more closely divided court. That's why you had it 5-4. Now it would be 6-3. Or maybe possibly at best. So. There's been a lot of regression, but maybe there's, Dominique, also some advancement in that we're seeing through some of this, some of these window dressings and some of the performative stuff. And we're seeing that power at the end of the day really does matter, and we need to keep our eye on that particular point and strive for more power.
Yeah, I think that's right, too. The silver lining is also that a lot of people's eyes are opening. Wait, they can do that? Wait. And seeing how much we function right now like an oligarchy.
Yeah, let me give you a quick example, just close to my heart, Dominique, as an educator, right? The Harvard just had a day in court at the beginning of the week against the Department of Justice, in which the Department of Justice is trying to demand that they take over Harvard's central administration and everything in order for Harvard to continue to get $2 billion in grants from the government. They're saying, we'll take this way unless you do this. And check out what the government demanded. 1, that Harvard hire a third party to audit the viewpoint of its students, faculty, and staff. 2, depending on the results of that audit, hire and admit a critical mass of people to achieve the government's preferred level of viewpoint diversity in each department, field, or teaching unit. 3, refuse admission to international students hostile to, quote, American values. 4, exclusively empower those faculty who support the government's action and reduce the power of those faculty who oppose the government's action. Demote, deans, etc., right? These were serious demands argued by the government, and we don't know what the outcome of this case is going to be. The judge wasn't looking favorably on what the government was trying to do, but that's how hard they're coming right now. All these same people who are arguing for viewpoint diversity and arguing against cancel culture and saying, oh, all you people are snowflakes, these very people are the ones who are cracking down on viewpoint diversity and free speech.
And that, again, those are things that would have been seen as uncouth or just illegal, authoritarian. And now it seems like they're just going forward with it. And what happened to all of that customary behavior? The so-called, I mean, you're talking about, we always talk smack about other countries where their dictators control the media and education, and yet we've got these media outlets coughing up big dollar amounts to stay out of, to stay in the good graces of the Trump administration. And you've got universities bending the knee, some of them preemptively and some of them after being threatened, to reconstitute everything they do in their campus life to please this authoritarian regime.
And I love that you put your finger right on one of the most important players in all of this drama that we're involved in, and that's the media. When you talk about the media's involvement, and the reason I, really have always enjoyed talking to you, Dominique, is you are an exception to the general rule of the media being a reflection of just dominant viewpoints and dominant perspectives. You actually do bring some alternative perspectives and are critical of the mere status quo kind of stuff. But when I'm looking out at the general mainstream media out here, what I'm seeing is a lot of stenographers who are being basically, right? I see people who are being stenographers for the status quo. They're being stenographers for the police, whatever the police say, whatever the State Department says, whatever the powerful, the powerful institution they're supposed to be a watchdog against and holding responsible, they're just being stenographers for them. And so, how do we get the media now to take its responsibility as a watchdog seriously and more than just ascribe to, reproducing whatever those in power say? That's going to be key because, you in the media determine really what the narrative is, what the dominant narrative is. We kind of go along. What you say we need to focus on, we tend to focus on. What you don't bring up, we tend not to bring up.
That's a great point. And it's a perilous time for media right now with these payouts by big companies. Professor Jody Armour, author Jody Armour, is my guest. We'll continue after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump wants America to be the world leader in AI.
As President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Donald Trump unveiled his AI action plan in D.C., aiming to boost U.S. tech dominance. The family of Black 18-year-old Sanaya Cheatham is demanding answers after she died in New York Police Department custody. Officials say she hanged herself with a sweater, but at her funeral, her family disputed that and wants surveillance footage released. Attorney Ben Crump is calling for justice. And Pharrell Williams is launching The Art of Time, a rare watch auction through his platform Jupiter. The curated drop features nearly 30 unique timepieces, including platinum Rolexes and diamond-covered Audemars Piguet, celebrating a century of craftsmanship. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
The Crohn's and Colitis Foundation has been at the forefront of inflammatory bowel disease research and care for over 50 years. Learn more about research, education, and support at Crohn'sColitisFoundation.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers got a dramatic win at home on Wednesday. Freddie Freeman delivered a 2-out, 2-run single in the bottom of the ninth to lift the Dodgers to a 4-3 win over Minnesota. Shohei Ohtani set a Dodgers record with a home run in 5 straight games. Ohtani hit his 37th in the first inning. The Angels were swept by the Mets in New York. They lost 6-3. The Angels could have swept the 3-game series with a couple of timely hits. They left 27 men on base in the series. The LA Sparks are at the Connecticut Sun tonight. The Sparks are aiming for their first 4-game winning streak in the WNBA since August 19, 2023. Congratulations to tennis legend Venus Williams. The 45-year-old Compton native confirmed her engagement to Andre Predig, a 37-year-old actor from Denmark. Venus has a second-round match tonight in the D.C. Open against Magdalena Frek of Poland. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
Founded in Los Angeles in 1986, litigation powerhouse Quinn Emanuel has deep roots in the Los Angeles community. Since 2007, we have litigated some of the largest fires on the West Coast. We are proud to be the only AmLaw 100 firm in the country to represent wildfire victims, giving affected individuals, families, and businesses the same focus and individualized attention we devote to our Fortune 500 clients. BTI Consulting has repeatedly recognized Quinn Emanuel as among the 4 law firms in-house counsel least like to oppose in any litigation, and we are often deemed the most feared. And after securing over $80 billion for our clients in various matters firm-wide, we understand why. If you have been affected by the recent wildfires in Altadena and the Palisades and would like to discuss your situation further, please contact wildfire support at QuinnEmanuel.com or call us at 213-443-3050. Quinn Emanuel is proud to sponsor Conversation Live Altadena Rising with James Farr on KBLA Talk 1580.
Attorney advertising. Prior results do not guarantee future outcomes.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts, guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, cause you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. To keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
You hear that? That's Mike sleeping soundly on a Sunday night. That's because Mike was smart this time. He took ZzzQuil Ultra to fall asleep fast, stay asleep longer, and get the deeply restorative sleep he needs. So now he wakes up refreshed and ready to conquer Mondays.
Let's do this Monday.
ZzzQuil Ultra. Not for colds, just for sleep. Really great sleep. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
Give people what they want.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley Show conversation with James Farr. James said something that caught me off guard. Black Altadena is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we do more than just talk.
You got a big mouth. Hello, Joe, you're up. Welcome.
We're unapologetically progressive, and we don't black down.
You know, I was thinking about Professor Jody Armour. I think the first time I interviewed you was back in my street science days, Professor. And,
Yeah.
you know, not only are you a professor of law and an author, you're also an activist. Are you okay? Are they coming for you? Are they, you know, I feel like they're targeting people like you inside of our academic system right now.
They really are, and it is a test of our principles. You know, Dominique, I've often told my students that, you know, and I think it's a motto we should live by, the price of principle is consistency. You know, can you be consistent to a set of principles? Right. And the principle that I've been, you know, that the university has always preached, the sacred value of a university is freedom of expression, free speech, right? That is the very lifeblood of a university, that you're bringing together different viewpoints so people can have uncomfortable conversations about very difficult and controversial issues. And, you know, you have to maximize freedom of speech. And so to see the people who used to get that, some of them who used to say they got that, like Barry Weiss and a lot of people who made reputations in 2015, 16, 17 with all the DEI stuff, they said, oh, you know, all of you people are just snowflakes. You're asking for safe spaces, and you know, you don't want to feel discomfort, and that's bad. Those same people are the ones who are turning around now and saying, if you make some students, certain students on the campus feel uncomfortable or distressed by the content, not by any threatening noises you're making towards them, but for example, one point that came up was they were having a bake sale for Gaza. A group was holding a bake sale for Gaza, and some students said that makes us feel unsafe. That's an anti-Semitic bake sale to have for Gaza, because that is it makes us feel, you know, less valued and less safe, and perhaps it's playing on some tropes or something like that. And that is a real test now of our free speech principles. You know, are we going to be able to have difficult conversations in not safe spaces, but brave spaces? Are we going to make our academic institutions places, brave spaces for us to have the most difficult conversations? And we were doing that. I thought we got there more and more in 2018, 19. I was always pushing. I was a big supporter of, hey, let everybody come on campus. If Ben Shapiro wants to come on campus, let him come on campus. If David Duke wants to come on campus, doggone it, let him come. We can protest too. We can stand up and say we don't like this. But then when we want to bring, you know, somebody that another side feels is divisive, like, I don't know, Louis Farrakhan, maybe 20, 30 years ago was popular, or someone else who, you know, someone feels is polarizing, we can say, well, no, this is supposed to be a brave space kind of campus that brings all viewpoints together, difficult conversations. And so staying by that principle, even when it's tough, the price of principle is consistency. Being consistent across it, even for viewpoints you don't like, is ultimately what protects, I think, us as dissidents, who we often are, and as dissenters who are pushing against the status quo.
Yeah, well, we got our eye on you, Professor Armour, because I have been shocked, and I don't shock that easy. I've been shocked at how quickly these universities are caving, going after students, taking away diversity programs, claiming anti-Semitism just because you oppose Israel. It has really surprised me how quickly they've caved.
Well, it's important to distinguish anti-Semitism, which is horrible and bad, and we always recognize that. You know, any kind of hatred that's inspired in that way is bad. To distinguish anti-Semitism from anti-Zionism or that, or, a political philosophy or anti-Israel sentiments. You can criticize a political philosophy like Zionism or a state or even an army without criticizing all the people, all of one group of people. And we have to, and what often has been done is people have said, oh, any criticism of Israel, and this is the IHRA definition, lends itself to this interpretation, any criticism of Israel constitutes anti-Semitism. Well, and only Israel. You can criticize the United States, you can criticize Great Britain, you can criticize Uganda, but you can't criticize Israel. And if you do, that's anti-Semitism or hate speech, or a form of kind of hate speech. And so that's conflating the criticism of a state with the criticism of a people. You can criticize a state without criticizing a religion. You can criticize Israel without criticizing Judaism. And that's an important kind of distinction, and it's important for us to recognize that and hold on to that. And who brought those points to my mind was were Jewish students who were at encampments, Jewish Voices for Peace, etc., who are anti-Zionist Jewish students. There are many anti-Zionist Jews. That is, they very much embrace their Judaism, but they don't like the idea of a Zionist state that is a settler colonial project. They distance themselves from that, but they very much, love their Judaism. They were bringing home to me this distinction between anti-Semitism on the one hand and, anti-Israel criticism or criticism of a political philosophy or a state or an army.
Okay, back to a couple legal questions here. Tulsi Gabbard, the National Intelligence Director, I have a hard time saying that, but yes, she is now accusing the former President Barack Obama, of treason. And so what I'm hearing, apparently they've launched a Department of Justice task force, and they're going after an investigation of the former president. But I'm also hearing that technically the Supreme Court granted immunity to presidents. So the question is, which one is going to win out in this dynamic? Can the Justice Department, can the National Intelligence Director launch an investigation against a former president based on her allegations, or would the Supreme Court's granting of some kind of immunity to presidents while they're in office rule that out?
I didn't hear all of your question, Dominique. My phone dropped for a second, but are you asking whether the Supreme Court could recognize a kind of immunity to cover what, say, Donald Trump is doing, even if he commits crimes while in office?
Well, I was specifically referencing Tulsi Gabbard's accusations against President Obama. She's accusing him of treason, and she's launching an investigation, and wondering if the immunity that the Supreme Court already gave to presidents vis-a-vis Trump would cover Obama from that kind of a prosecution.
Oh, absolutely. We all know this and can see this. It's surprising that these noises can be made with a straight face by a trained lawyer who has her bar number, and to bring up what would otherwise be a court could see as a frivolous kind of claim that is just wasting time. This is the same kind of argument about whether Obama has a birth certificate issue, whether he's truly American. All window dressing, and current President Trump kind of made his brand on that birtherism conspiracy crap that everybody knew was crap who had rational thought, but they could bring it up anyway, right, and make it a political cudgel to bang with and satisfy, a certain part of the base. And this isn't about plausibility even to the rest of us. This is about throwing red meat to your base.
Great point. I want to ask you when we come forward about the birthright citizenship and the 14th Amendment. More news on that is just breaking right now. Continue with Professor Jody Armour when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hey there, Los Angeles. This is James Lucky Jr., publisher and editor of Los Angeles News Observer. Are you hungry for news that matters to you in the African-American communities of Los Angeles? Well, buckle up, because we got the scoop you've been craving. Stay in the know and never miss a beat with our free weekly publications conveniently available near you. Or hop on the digital wave and become an exclusive subscriber at OGNSC.com. Don't forget to join the party on Instagram and Twitter at OGNSCINC for behind-the-scenes access and sizzling updates. No more FOMO. Let's stay informed, connected, and empowered together.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Los Angeles Regional Food Bank is on a mission to fight hunger and provide nutritious food to those in need across our community. They partner with federal, state, and local programs advocating for better policies and funding for critical hunger relief programs like Cal Fresh, the Emergency Food Assistance Program, and the Child and Adult Care Food Program. The food bank works with coalitions and local representatives to make sure hunger is addressed in every district of LA County. They also run nutrition education campaigns, raise hunger awareness, and source nutritious food for distribution, all while supporting regulations that allow food pantries to operate safely. Want to help? Visit lafoodbank.org or call 323-234-3030 to volunteer or find a food bank near you. Together, we can ensure that no one goes hungry in Los Angeles County. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Let K. Michelle's Kitchen Catering bring your world of flavors to your next event. For all occasions, from casual brunches to office lunches, weddings, and glamour affairs, call us today at 310-819-6213 or go to kmichellekitchencatering.com or on Instagram at kmichelles_kitchen catering or Facebook at K. Kitchen Catering. We look forward to cooking for you soon. Call 310-819-6213. 310-819-6213.
Hey, listen to this. All it needed was a new starter. Got a great deal on eBay. Did it myself.
Yeah, that's cool. But how about the soft purr of an upgraded exhaust when it fits just right?
For me, it's the little things, like these new windshield wipers from eBay I installed.
From small fixes to big upgrades, eBay has all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
So excited to have Professor Jody Armour, law professor, author, and activist, if only you knew, on with me this morning. Let's see if we can squeeze in two quick topics on the way out the door here, and I'll set them up for you, and you can address them how you will. Professor Armour, Democrats on a subcommittee of the House Oversight Committee agreed to seek a subpoena for the Epstein files. A couple of Republicans joined Democrats. They're drawing up a subpoena and want to get those Epstein files released. So there's that, and I want to know where that could go. And then I mentioned the 14th Amendment. Trump's effort to repeal citizenship, birthright citizenship, has been called unconstitutional by the 3-judge panel at the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, meaning this will probably go all the way to the Supreme Court. I think there's been a lot of confusion around this. Some black people think we're protected because the 14th Amendment was meant to make sure that formerly enslaved persons had citizenship. How do you see this? How do you see the end game here, and the actual impact?
Yeah, I'll start, Dominique, first with your second question. again, yes, the 14th Amendment, it's hard to escape that conclusion. And it's an argument that's likely to be used by a majority of the Supreme Court if it, let's say, hypothetically, I'm not necessarily saying it's going to cut this way, but given its current constitution, the Supreme Court's current makeup, I can't rule this out. Let's say the Supreme Court says, yeah, we're going to say that birthright citizenship can be eliminated. This was an amendment directed at a particular evil in American history, that evil of slavery, and that kind of discrimination, and actually use, kind of the suffering and struggle of black people, and how the 14th Amendment expresses that as a way of kind of distinguishing and distancing the amendment from a lot of the other people in the world, brown and Asians and Latinx folk and Africans who want to immigrate here, being able to exclude them by riding on the kind of the history of emancipation from slavery. So I can see that coming up. As to Epstein, the price of principle, again, Dominique, is consistency. The problem, the reason I think that more Democrats haven't made a bigger issue out of Epstein all along, and is his connections to Trump, because there are many and deep connections between Epstein and Trump, and the kind of pedophilia that Epstein was involved in almost certainly was something that Trump was involved in. We can't know for sure because they won't release the files and release information that might be incriminating. So all we can do is speculate, but it is incriminating and damning, the evidence, right, the connection. But the reason the left, if you will, or Democrats haven't been able to jump on that fact more, that a crying out loud fact more, is because in their own house, Bill Clinton was also associated with Epstein and also has some issues around those along those same lines. And so it's a bipartisan problem, and it's part of the kind of the predicament that we're in with this duopoly, this kind of two-party system that doesn't give us a lot of choices. It's kind of like, you can't criticize our pedophile because your pedophile will be exposed.
Back to where we started this conversation, speaking about principles over party. Elon Musk says he's starting a party. It seems like there's always a lot of third parties when it's time, and fourth and fifth parties when it's time for presidential elections. But what about building a real, actual, powerful party, alternate party, whether it's third, fourth, or fifth? Do you see that happening? It just doesn't seem like the momentum is there, is it?
I know it isn't until it is, right? Some of them, right? Some of the great movements, the Democratic Party came out of nowhere, right? Another party had to die along the way. The Republican Party came out. So at some point, there's enough disaffection when you have the approval rating for the Democratic Party, the approval rating at 19%, right? But that's the gutter. That's the low. That's the nadir, right? You can't go any much lower than that, and that's crying out for an alternative. That's the people crying out for an alternative, right? But they're not going to find that alternative under either umbrella, under either the elephants or the donkeys. They need another one, and maybe we'll see. I'm hoping that we will be shocked into action.
I hope so too. I was having these conversations with Dr. Melina Abdullah because everyone says know your rights, talking about ICE detention, talking about interactions with cops. But is that something we should stop saying because those rights are no longer being honored?
Yeah, we have to keep saying them. I hear what you're saying. We have to keep saying them because the hypocrisy has to be called out. Even while we are suffering right, on the receiving end of the hypocrisy, we have to call it out. That's what we did during the Civil Rights era, right? This is a different kind of struggle, a different kind of era. Black Lives Matter has shown us how important it is to call things out, call injustices out, even when, we know they are not going to act much differently. We still got to keep on calling them out. And so, I hear what you're saying. We have no choice but to call them out and to therefore unify and rally around the insight that it's not about justice, it's about power, and we have to get power. And the only way to get power in a democratic system is through numbers and unity and political action.
Professor Armour, how can we keep up with you? Are you on social media? Do you have a book coming out again? A lecture? How do we keep track of you?
Yeah, I'm doing the usual with the .com, jodyarmour.com, and the title of my book that you gave at the beginning, In Astor's GGA Theory, is my Twitter handle, and a lot of other stuff. That's the only stuff that really that really matters. So we can find you out there fighting the good fight in the Tesla swamp that is Twitter at NIGGA Theory. Are you on Instagram or any of the others? Facebook, fan base? No, I'm just an X. Formerly Twitter. I want to just say Twitter. I'm still a Twitter person because I'm a word person. And language and words, and I like links. I like receipts that I can get easily. Oh, and plus we need somebody over there fighting back. I mean, we can't all run. At least that's how I see it. Professor Jody Armour, it's great to talk to you. Thank you so much for joining. Always, Dominique. Thank you. Tavis Smiley's on deck. I see them in the bullpen over there warming up. And let me tell you, it's going to be another great show. I saw the lineup. If you haven't seen it, you know where you can see that? Go to KBLA 1580 on our Instagram. We are also on Twitter and lots of other places, including TikTok. I'm there too. I'm at DiPrima Radio, DIPRIMA, and then radio. Yes, Miles finally lured me onto TikTok, and I actually kind of like it. Surprise, surprise. Instagram is my favorite. Let's keep the conversation going, even when I am not on the mic. Yes, we have an amazing Freedman Friday for you. Tomorrow we'll also have Gina Belafonte joining us. So lots of good things to come. Like my mama, the great poet laureate Diane DiPrima used to say, history is now, like I always say, we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. President Trump wants America to be the world leader in AI.
As President of the United States, I'm here today to declare that America is going to win it. We're going to work hard. We're going to win it.
Donald Trump unveiled his AI action plan in D.C., aiming to boost U.S. tech dominance. The family of